with my sidekick, Dobby, and today I am talking about an arc that I picked up at BookCon and I was so excited to read. It is called That's Not What Happened by Cody Keplinger. Cody Keplinger is the author of DUFF, which I adore, both the book and the movie, even though they're very, very different from each other. And I have a review that talks about that I will link below from thefandom.net. And then I also have an arc of Lying Out Loud, which is a companion novel to the DUFF. I know she has other books, and I do plan to read them at some point, but I haven't done it yet. However, when I was at BookCon and I got the opportunity to pick up this one, I was so excited. It's very different, very, very different from the previous two that I have read from Cody Keplinger. Let's dive into what it is about. I have some notes written down, so if I look like I'm reading at one point, that's why. Sorry, I'm going to try to avoid that. That's Not What Happened takes place 3 years after a school shooting. And it's actually kind of fitting because I'm currently filming this on Sunday, August 26th, and there was a shooting today, which has become all too common, though not a school shooting. So this shooting left 9 people dead, 7 students, and 2 teachers. And there were only 6, there were a lot of survivors at the school, obviously, but there were only 6 people that were actually there to witness the shooting firsthand, like see the people around them getting shot and survive. So this book really follows those 6, specifically one of them, but kind of 5 of them, but kind of all 6. It'll make more sense in a second. The protagonist's name is Lee, and she and 2 of her fellow survivors are the last 3 still at the school. Everybody else has graduated, and they are now getting ready to graduate. And Lee has been holding a secret for the past 3 years about what really happened that day. She's scared that when she graduates and when her fellow survivors graduate, the true stories of what happened that day will go with them. So it's kind of her last chance to set the story straight. Lee is especially worried because her late best friend, who one of the biggest misconceptions of what happened that day is about, her parents are about to write a book about what they think supposedly happened that day, but it didn't really happen. So now it's basically going to be all over the place again, which it already has been, but even more so. And she doesn't think that that's right for her friend or for other people. I really liked the format of this book. It was written as one giant letter from Lee to the reader or to whoever happened to be reading it. And then within that, some of the other characters had written sections and sent them to Lee, and she inserted them where she felt they fit, which was really cool. At the beginning of the story, there are a whole lot of mysteries. Even Lee isn't quite telling us. She's telling us that something's not right and that something's not true, but she's not telling us what it is or what they think happened or what really happened. So we kind of have to uncover that as the story goes. And again, she's still not sure about telling the truth and whether it's the right thing to do, but it's really cool that as she goes through the story and uncovers the idea that the other people in the story also have secrets and also are dealing with these misconceptions, she kind of gets more comfortable with it and realizes that they're all still in this together, even with what they thought they weren't. I finished this book in 2 days, but I cried so much in those 2 days. What's interesting is it's not the story of a shooting, it's the story of an aftermath of a shooting. But it's still the story of a shooting, especially because in hearing all of their stories, we do go back to that day over and over again. And one thing that I thought was really cool and really important and really empowering was throughout the story, Lee refused to say the name of the shooter. I have finished this book now. I don't know the name of the shooter. And some of the others even wrote, we know it's a guy, wrote his name in their letter, and she blacked it out because she basically said, like, he got enough publicity when he did this to our school. I'm not giving him any more. This is about us. It's not about him. And I adore that because one of the problem with these shootings is the names we typically remember are the shooters, not the victims. That wasn't the case in this because we don't even know the shooter. I know it was fiction, but still. One other thing that was really cool is that, so apparently it's based on a true story about a girl who was killed during Columbine. There was a rumor, and I was in 3rd grade at the time. I actually vaguely remember this story. So apparently in the library, when one of the shooters found this girl hiding under a table, I think, he asked her if she believed in God, and she said, "I do," and then he killed her. Apparently, later it came out that that never really happened. So Cody Keplinger kind of took that story and retold it in a different way. This one was like a little bit more in depth. So something comes out about every single one of the survivors having their own story. Oh, by the way, 5 of the 6 survivors became best friends, and one of them ended up kind of being tossed out of the town. And that the background there is one of the things that you have to uncover as the story continues. So all 6 of them, I guess, have their own story to tell of that's not what happened. Most of them from that day, a couple of them, or maybe just one, the big story is more the way he or she has been dealing with it since then. So it's really cool. Obviously, everybody's dealing with it in different ways, and it's interesting to see the way it's affected all of these very, very different people in completely different ways, and yet also brought them together at the same time when they never would have been friends before they experienced this terrible, terrible thing together. The last thing I do want to talk about before I get into spoilers is the diversity in this book. Cody Keplinger is wonderful and very, very big into diversity. This book has a lot. It has white characters, obviously. Well, it has a delinquent, which isn't really diversity, but it is like a different type of person, I guess. But it has a blind black student. It has a Latinx lesbian. It has some like super religious people. I think that's mostly it. I don't think the town it takes place in is supposed to be super diverse, but she made sure to include all of this in her characters, which is nice. Well, and one of the characters ends up in a wheelchair after this event, so there's that as well. Yeah, there's a lot. I really liked it. I gave it 5 stars. It had me extremely emotional for pretty much the entire time I was reading it, and I think that's all I can say without getting into spoilers. Definitely go read it. I loved a lot of the characters, some more than others, obviously, but yeah, go check it out. And it is, well, it's not out yet, but it will be by the time I post this video, so go check it out and then come back and you'll hear the rest of this, alright? Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at ReaderGonnaRead, subscribe by clicking down below, and give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and come back to finish it. Bye, people that don't want to be spoiled. Stick around if you've read it. Okay, let's get into it. I did read this like a month ago, so I don't know that much to say. I do want to go into what surprises came to light from some of the different people. So we hear Denny's little side story first, not including like the start of the book, and I really liked his because his wasn't such, it wasn't so much a that's not what happened as a like nobody should feel sorry for me because I didn't go through what everybody else went through. I'm like getting teary-eyed again talking about this book. So basically his was that because he was blind, he didn't see the chaos around him. And for him it was more confusion than straight up fear. He never saw his best friends die, even though his two best friends did die right next to him. Oh my gosh, I'm crying. But he didn't see them. Unlike Eden, who did see her cousin right there, which I'll get into that one in a little bit. But yeah, Denny's was the first one that really broke my heart because it was the first time we really went back to that day and saw what happened. And yeah, I started sobbing. I think Ashley was the one that actually surprised me the most, just because, I don't know, we didn't know where the story of Sarah's apparently putting her religion above everything else came from. But I didn't think it was from Ashley, just because it was like these characters that you wanted to trust, and I didn't want her to have gotten it so wrong. But seeing it, like, it makes sense where it came from. What hurt the most in her story, I think, was she even said that she assumed it was Sarah. She didn't know for a fact. And then when Kelly started saying, no, that was me, it didn't even cross her mind to say, oh, maybe I got it wrong. I wasn't in there. I didn't see. But she just called Kelly a liar when there was absolutely no reason for that. So Ashley kind of broke my heart a bit, I think. I don't know. I understand it, like, changed her life and it, like, helped her survive. But, like, why couldn't Kelly? And I'll get it more into that in a moment. Eden's was the one that was more how she's been dealing with it that was the issue. Well, she talked a bit about at the time being jealous of her cousin and stuff like that, but I think more of it was how she'd seemed so strong all this time, but she was falling completely apart. And I'm crying again. It was tough seeing her break down 3 years later and seeing that, like, she'd been hiding this from everybody all that time. This is a tough book, guys. Yeah, I really liked that character. I liked the way they developed that, where Lee was just going to visit her and she immediately saw something was strange. She saw the roommate and the girlfriend give each other a look, and she was like, wait, something's not right. And then she slowly started to realize what it was, that her friend had been falling apart and she had no idea. Then we get to Miles, who, by the way, I was shipping Lee and Miles so hard through this whole book. So Miles actually didn't really surprise me at all, just because it made sense. Like, I guess I hadn't thought about it in I don't think I actually thought, like, oh, he totally wasn't trying to protect her. But I also didn't think that he had, like, sacrificed himself to save her, if that makes sense. Like, as soon as we heard about him throwing his body over hers, like, I thought it was an instinct thing, but I never thought that he hadn't been also trying to protect himself in doing so too. Did I know he actually tripped over her laying there? No. But I thought maybe he, like, saw her down and was like, okay, well, I can pretend that I got shot with her and lay there with her. And so he just went down and he was on top of her. And that was that. Yeah, that one was not a huge surprise. And I don't quite understand why he thought it would be like a deal breaker for Lee, especially with everything that she'd been telling him over this time, talking about these letters and everything. I didn't think it was a big deal. And I'm glad that it wasn't a big deal, because I could not have handled, like, when he first started saying, like, I don't want you to hate me, blah, 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 I was like, oh my God, he knew that the shooting was going to happen and he didn't stop it, and he had been a part of it, but he, like, changed his mind at the last second but couldn't stop oh my gosh, my mind was going crazy. And then it was just like saving Ashley, it was an accident. Who cares? Before I get into Kelly, I do want to talk a bit about this experience Lee is going through. So she's been keeping this inside for 3 years. I don't quite understand why she didn't say something earlier, but I know it says that she tried a couple times and couldn't do it. I guess I just don't understand why that's such a big deal. And maybe it's because I'm not religious. I don't know. Like, I get that they put her on this pedestal and said, like, oh, she died for her religion. But isn't it almost a better story if the one who said she believed in Jesus and he would save her survived? And I know Kelly, who, like, smokes and wears black, isn't this, like, good Christian that they wanted to put up on the pedestal, but they could say that Jesus actually saved her. Why not? Apparently they wanted the martyr. I really like that Lee realized partway through that this isn't necessarily her story to tell, and it really all comes down to Kelly. And so she left it up to Kelly, and then it was Kelly's decision to put her last bit in and send this out into the world. I guess to compete with Sarah's parents' book. I don't know, I almost wish there was like a news article or something posted into the end of the book that said what happened later. Like, if this book made the other one flop, or whether everybody thought this one was crap and believed the original one from Sarah's parents, or what. I want to know the aftermath, and I'm sure I'm never going to get it, but I still want to know. Yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say. This book was super, 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 super emotional, as you can tell by the fact that I'm still crying about it a month later when I'm talking about it. All for Miles and Lee. I hope that they can survive college and all of that. And yeah, I wish I'd done this video earlier because I'm sure I had some other things to say, but doesn't matter. I hope you liked it. Please tell me your thoughts. Tell me if you cried as much as I probably did. If you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Follow me online at ReaderGonnaRead. Subscribe by clicking down below or up there. Are you okay? And I will talk to you next time. Bye! Hey, Ellie and Dobby here. Like the video? Come subscribe. Do it right now. Click it.